needs a serious conversation with itself about whether you performed your oversight functions well. And my judgment, with due respect, gentlemen and ladies, is you did extremely poorly.
Thank you.
You must own this problem as well.
Thank you. You hear that, Kimani?
Your Excellency, I hear that, but Kwame will agree with me that within those 10 years we are dealing with a very tyrannical regime, and the control of budgets will bear me witness. You know what you have to go through.
Coach, on a lighter note, just a minute, Eugene.
Yes.
Just as Kimani likes to stretch us backwards, I can tell you for a fact, part of the reason we are sitting here today is because of the integrity issues that the control of the budget spoke about. Even as presently constituted, Kimani's parliament and Wandai's parliament is under capture, state capture. So you shouldn't expect much from them. And this is why we have to really go deep into these things. Even as we are sitting here, I said this is not even for you. My good friend, Speaker Wetangula, goes out there to dismantle Azimio coalition, where speakers rule it. Integrity issues, because he wants to use the 21 members of Jubilee, all right, to be able to carry on to make sure that Kimani's taxes are sustained. Sorry, Kimani.
Your Excellency, you definitely know I take great exception to discussing the Speaker of the National Assembly in this forum, and especially on a matter completely unrelated to the economic issues that we are dealing with. Matters that of grave concern to the people of Kenya. And with all due respect to myself and Noble Pio and I who sit here, we must give credit to at least the 13th Assembly that we have been bold enough to deal with some of these issues touching on the economy. And I believe history will judge the 13th Assembly different from other assemblies, but also to say, without giving excuse to Parliament, I think is more of a leadership issue than the institution of Parliament. It is about leaders who appreciate the role of institutions, that the controller of budgets is an institution, not the person of Mary Nyakango, that Parliament is an institution, not the persons who sit in Parliament, and respect those institutions, that they have a role to play in budget making, in helping the government and the executive to deal with matters to do with the economy. Therefore, when the controller of budget tells you that paying Telcom, looting 6 billion shillings 2 days to a general election is not right, don't put a gun over her head. Respect that office of the controller of budget. When Parliament, Your Excellency, because I have sat as a chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, I can tell you, things that some of us had to go through because we put our foot down. Masinda is here, he will tell you.
To continue putting your foot down.
And I will assure you, Your Excellency, Parliament as a leader of majority, I will make sure even this government under William Ruto will have to abide by the Constitution and respect institutions. Therefore, let us not have a blanket condemnation of Parliament. I know we have had this debate for the last 7 years with Kwame on the role of Parliament.
Can I finish in a minute?
Coaches.
I think I took the floor from you.
No, coaches, I was just proposing we go by only proposal. That they finish, then we do a second round. Because we have a second round.
Okay. And so the final point, which is basically what you asked for. Honorable Wandai asked, you did not ask me this, but please allow me to just answer. Which specific expenditures do you want to see GOK reduce? Yes. So we will tell you. In the year 2019, the Institute of Economic Affairs was concerned about how much fuel government was buying. So we went through all the parliamentary estimates and went line by line through every purchase of fuel by the public sector, keeping aside the military and the police. And the figure that we found suggested to us that the government of Kenya was buying 150,000 liters of diesel per day from the numbers that Parliament approved for expenditure. That cannot be right. Where are all these vehicles going to? Either that, or government vehicles are pumped with fuel and they just ride around. It was an enormous number. And then we also checked telecommunications. So we checked what telecommunications are, and we find out that certain departments in the public sector have a telecommunications bill of 20,000 shillings per person per month. Now, 20,000 shillings per person per month, per person. So it's not basically for a whole office of 30 people. That's a lot of money. So what I'm trying to suggest here is, if Parliament took its work diligently and went line by line through items, asking, why are we buying this quantity of things, which is what you expected by the Constitution to do, you would find a lot of space for savings without having to have an abrupt cut in any budget, because you save a lot of money which could be digested, it could be directed to the more important things that we spoke about. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now,
We can now hear the person who guides Parliament in making those decisions.
Thank you, Chair. I want to comment on 223. My view is that we have a different opinion, members, that Article 223 is not foolproof because it requires parliamentary approval. And my English reading of approval is something very different. That Parliament must be satisfied that that approval is within the law. So we have some proposals in terms of perhaps tightening the PFM law to give specific conditions under which Article 223 is applied. And that's the way it is. Parliament must approve. So the disconnect is that Treasury cannot go ahead and actually spend that money knowing that Parliament, what if Parliament refuses to approve? The limit of majority is way where Waraka was actually, Parliament refused to approve Waraka payment under 223. So I think it's high time we try and look at the PFM. We have some proposals, yes, that can sort of try and tighten the condition under which Article 223 is applied in the PFM.
And everybody knows what happened to me after I refused to approve that payment.
You are suggesting PFM Act, not...
Yes, PFM Act. Yeah. We have some proposals. Okay. I don't know, the lawyers can guide, but we have some proposals.
We need them, that's important. Yeah.
Okay. And then the second issue is the basic pay. What I said, members, is that if you are earning $1 million shillings, right, and you make it, just go up, you make it, you make the levy tax deductible, right? It's deducting and minus deducting. The net amount is that for in a month, you will actually, save 25,000 shillings per month. If you make it, sorry, I mean you lose from the baseline where there was no housing levy to the housing levy, making it tax deductible, you lose 25,000 shillings per month. If you make it not deductible, you lose 30,000 shillings per month. So it was, we just thought perhaps for clarity purpose, just to have some, extra income for disposable for spending. Perhaps we need to look at that. Around the administration of this housing levy in terms of taxation, to see whether there is any ambiguity in that. Even I did a recent AG's direction that I think other directors were not subject to the housing levy. So I think some legal gaps that require to be addressed. I leave the question for dollars to the expert here to help me out. Tax exemptions. What we are saying is that within the East African Community Customs Union, there are some specific loopholes on the government, in the sense that sometimes the minister just through the governing, the minister's council in Arusha, they just grant 2 or 3 entities, and I have a gazette notice here actually, which I don't want to read, just 2 or 3 or 4 entities to exempt them from import duty, because import duty is an ECMA, a customs union issue. You realize, 2 or 3 entities have been given that rebate of not paying import duty. On the basis of that, we're not very sure. So we thought perhaps it is high time we look at this and try and tighten that. Number 2 is that other than perhaps health, agriculture, some of these things don't make sense. Right? Per year. Right? Per year. And development is 30 million. 30 million. 30 million. So essentially, it's as good as perhaps trying to rethink and just closing down that particular entity and trying to mark them. That's the kind of MDS saving we're talking about. That within national government, we've done so well, and perhaps members I'm confused, but I think let me say this, that the cutting for foreign travel, domestic travel within national government itself. Either those transfers or we need to look. Either those transfers or we need to look into the A&A collection. How can we allow some of these people just let them collect A&A and just, you know, why are they relying on exchequer? What they will do, and I think members of the National Assembly know, at the initial stage of the year, in the estimates, they'll understand A&A completely. Towards supplementary, actually, the last parliament to approve a higher collection of A&A.
Yes.
So these are the things we need to perhaps go into the books and see how to deal with those ones.
Now, just a clarification. Please allow me not to disturb you beyond that. Assume you're 60, you retired 60, right? Alright. There are people who are about to retire and who are already having to pay the housing levy. Right? Do they have any hope whatsoever of getting any house? Why don't you then think in terms of the willing? That's why we talk about progressive something, rather than having a blanket application. And these are some of the things that get discussed on golf courses, all right? Because you see, and then the trust element. Can we really trust these people? Well, are they not collecting this money to do other things and just get lost? So since you advise Parliament, have you thought of this? I don't look at Kimani because I don't sit in that. Just look at me straight.
He's probably looking at me, Your Excellency, because you probably may not understand the nature of the housing levy we are dealing with. It's now a tax.
Yeah,
it's an outright tax.
Yeah.
And to ask whether someone who is about to retire, whether they should pay tax, is akin to asking you if you are above 60 and you are retired, do you pay for tax that provides health care to other people who are fall sick and you are not sick yourself? And it happens. Or the estates of dead people, they pay taxes to provide services.
Yeah.
And that's why I think if we listen to Hata,
Hata was very clear on fairness.
The social contract,
yes,
I think is what should guide us on matters tax, other than our political inclinations. And I would really beg we
No. I think this has nothing to do with political inclination, Kimani. Hata was very categorical that the tax regime should be fair, should be seen to be fair. And surely, if you're calling housing levy, people are likely then to get a house. This is a common understanding, the street talk. And then they'll ask you, surely you're paying tax and you're about to retire? And what hope in the world, unless it's your grandchildren who benefit from this kind of thing? So we need to debunk these things without looking at the political.
Excellency, I will invite you because we have the housing department coming tomorrow.
Yes,
absolutely. I would plead that we leave that matter to them. They will be able to explain to us that the housing tax is not for me to pay a tax to get that house. Actually, it is a tax. When it was a levy before, at 3% is when that argument then would have held. Now that argument cannot hold because of the bashing that the levy had, and then it was changed into a tax. And I'm sure Nyaga, who is seated there, who is more on the taxation matters, will be able to explain that better than even Masinde.
Yeah. And then there is a typology of these houses that are restricted to various incomes. And the selling price to the market is restricted also to about, is it 55,000 per square meter, and the government then gives the offtake through that housing fund for those by taking the market risk, because it is done through a PPP program. So you get the land, you structure your financing, you come and build, then there are various incomes in terms